Hi. So, how well do you communicate your needs, your thoughts, your feelings? Are you like blunt and straightforward, just telling how you feel and what you want and just express it and see what happens? Or do you try to be nice and kind of go around the subject, trying to sort of like, hey, like hopefully they're gonna get the idea? And it comes in many ways. I thought about, because a lot of things are happening around me and people I work with to talk about people who are passive aggressive. And, some of it boils down to, hey, they have issues that they want their needs met. And when that doesn't happen, they become passive aggressive, they push people's buttons. Of course, some people are just bully straightforward, but others, they're like, oh, like I wish someone would be like me. And what does that mean? And you break down and, like, well, they might be petite and like really into having their space clean and things kind of going by their way, like where they have control. And like if they tell someone to do something, they're going to do it. And if that doesn't happen again and again and again, it really triggers their buttons. But the only way, the nicest way they can possibly, ask for something again, if their need was met again, is like true bullying. And then it happens. So I thought about talking about those subjects, but I'm like, why talk about others when we can sort of look at ourselves? And of course, talking about others, acknowledging the problem is very important, dealing with that is very important. But what about you? Like, I know for myself, growing around in a family that would be, passive aggressive and wouldn't get me. Like at the worst moments in life when I asked for help, when I told what was going on, no one bought my story. No one bought it. So like for me, it created a massive distrust with people. And for a very long time, like being up to 20, 21 years, I'd be very nice and just try to, go around, like beat around the bush, if that's right saying, and like really never really express myself. But I'm learning, like, let's say, watching Tony Robbins, Six Basic Human Needs, and how he talks about relationships where there's this common thing. Female usually wants to be acknowledged and, communicated with. And in a way where in relationships, like you want something, you don't get compliments that often. But let's say you cook amazing dinner or just make a nice meal, and people are like, oh wow, this is so good. And you're like, nah, it's just, I made it from scratch, it's simple, it's basic. But that means, oh my god, please tell me that thing again. Like, I can't believe I've got a compliment and I wish to hear it again. And instead of, oh my god, could you repeat it, it really made me feel good, we're like, how about I'm gonna complain about my food and try to fish and get some more compliments. So like, I've noticed that with my family, specifically a whole lot with my grandma, but just because her husband is, I wouldn't call him abusive physically, but he's abusive with words, and she never gets any control or any compliments or anything. So whenever I would compliment my grandma's food, she would go into her comfort zone and the basic, oh, my food sucks because my husband said so, or like whatever programming she has lived with her entire life. And I know, like, oh, like she really likes hearing that. It makes her feel good. It makes her feel appreciated and acknowledged, and saying those things really helps her out. And then I look at myself like, okay, am I doing that? Am I doing this with people? So like, I've learned that, trying it, practicing, I have to catch myself where, oh, I have this need and I am not communicating it properly. Because if you want something and you are not saying exactly what you want, and you go around, and this happened with me, you don't get the result you want. You have expectations, like hopefully they're going to catch my idea, maybe read my mind, maybe catch it, and what I want is going to happen. But it doesn't happen. And you're like, fuck, well, that's not what I wanted. So like, learning to like catch myself, what do I want and how do I communicate it, and can I say it the way I want to say it? Like with some people, I feel very comfortable and I can just blur out whatever I want to say, however I want to say, and I know they're gonna get me. Whether they like it or not is another thing, but I can be myself, and that means a lot to me. Like being myself, not having to pretend, not having to fit in with someone else's standards or ethics or anything else. It's just completely me. So with those people, I've been practicing opening up and communicating and really being honest about it all. Being honest when like, oh my God, this compliment really made me feel good. I've never got it before, and I would love for you to repeat it because it just boosts my self-confidence and everything else. But with others, let's say, like even with my relatives and everything else, I wouldn't call it a very close relationship, but I'm like, okay, just they have their own ways of getting things, and I've been like sort of really holding myself back, sort of wearing a mask, or at least not letting them in within my space, or like, hey, you're not gonna get me at all. So I'm not even gonna try. We're gonna communicate on the very surface level, and that's all you're getting. And like I've tried, been there, done that, and didn't work out. So like change my ways. But for me, like learning to talk about certain needs, to be honest and like, hey, whether people like it or not, it's okay. But being honest to myself and learning to talk about certain needs is still a work in practice every single day. Even like, one of the most common things for me is like, I work with people, I really have to go. Like the timer is out, I have another thing to pick up, I'm on time, I'm gonna be late and everything else. And I have a hard time saying no or goodbye, or like, oh, we have to wrap it up. Like a person feels good talking to me, and I'm like I appreciate that. I appreciate their time. I really like helping someone else. And if we're talking and all of a sudden they're all smiling and telling stories and it's gonna get me late by another 30 minutes or an hour or anything else, I'm like, just smile and support them. I have a like still hard time saying like, oh, like I'm sorry, I kind of have to wrap it up and whatever. Like it's really hard to put in words. But I'm learning that thing. I'm learning to talk with others. And I wonder how it is for you, people who watch my channel. How well are you communicating with others about your needs, whether it is, asking for help or saying, hey, this is what I want, can you get it to me, or however you want to communicate it. And the other thing is like, a lot has to do with probably compliments, what you want and how you feel, and just straight up blunt, telling exactly how you feel and what you think. Can you do that or not? And how do you communicate? Like I'm just like curious, is it just me with my own weird case, or others have a thing? And if you've learned and changed, like what are some of the things that you did, and what kind of things you say to others that really helped you out? So that'll be my question for today, and a little introspection, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.